Okay, so I was not expecting this at all. Not too much excitement in this chapter today, as chapter 1178 unofficially released today, and it is titled A Fading Nightmare. And we got a cover request featuring Kid getting chased by a bull, and I gotta say, it is really good to know that Oda still remembers how to draw Kid. Alright, so this chapter opens up with Luffy bringing Usopp and Brook to the nearby Straw Hats. And I really like how Frankie asked Luffy if he needs some backup. My man got that Vegapunk upgrade 2 chapters ago and does not know how to act about it, but honestly, more power to him. I would love to see more Frankie fights. Straight up, I would love to see more Frankie fights. Luffy tells him if things get bad, he'll count on him, but for now, just stay back. Loki is a real wild card. And hearing that from Luffy is pretty funny. Even Sanji comments on it, because Luffy, you're the biggest wild card that's ever existed. And then we cut back to Loki and Enko, and Enko starts talking about a ship from a few years ago. And not just any ship, a giant ship. A ship helmed by a captain of truly immense stature. And the ship was never identified because it was always in fog-shrouded regions. And while she's yapping about this, Loki does not care and fires another shock breath at her. He's really setting the place on fire. Luffy sees Loki getting active and he's like, hold on, leave some for me, man, and jumps into the action. And somehow Loki didn't make contact and Enko keeps talking. She goes on to mention about rumors that started to emerge concerning the sighting of an unimaginable flying beast during that time period. And of course, Enko is referring to the rampage that Loki had out on the sea for 8 years, and she is actually confirming that with herself. And of course, Loki doesn't care about anything that Enko is saying. He's more concerned about the fact that Enko got away, and her size is just too small for him. Luffy makes it back to the location where Enko and Loki are at and is about to start fighting, but then suddenly Imu projects its body out of Gunko's body. And at this point, I don't know how to, I really do not know how to wrap my head around Imu's powers, because I really thought that Imu was just possessing Gunko, but now it's clear that Imu is able to actually use Gunko as like a fast travel location. Now Imu is here, and he says, if only thou were erased from the world as Rox was before thee. And Imu goes and tries to Dami reverse Luffy and Loki in an attempt to get them to fight each other. But somehow Luffy and Loki are able to resist the Dami Reversi, and they both actually disregard the tendrils. And it seems like Imu already expected this to happen, as he says to himself, these two truly are ... and does not finish that thought. Luffy fires a booming Dawn Gatling gun at Imu, and just like in the flashback with the 6 legends, it does absolutely nothing to Imu's body. After complaining about Imu being too small, which is hilarious because Loki, you're just too big, he transforms back down to his base form and prepares Ragnar and tells Luffy to move. He attacks both Imu and Gunko with Niflheim, trapping them in a really big block of ice. This actually impresses Luffy, but he still wanted to throw some more punches on Imu, and then suddenly transforms back to his base form as Gear 5th runs out. And in the event of Luffy actually hitting his Gear 5th limit, he actually reverts back to his original outfit that he was wearing before he was in Gear 5th. So I guess we could just add creating new clothes and new outfits to Luffy's list of absurd abilities while he's in Gear 5th is actually kind of crazy. Then Loki tells Imu, I have no idea who you are, but doing this is much quicker. Besides, I was way too big for too long. And Loki is huffing and puffing right now, which honestly does not surprise me. Being the size that he was is probably very stamina draining. We cut to the hunting and fishing villages of Elbaf, where people are dealing with the fires that Loki caused, where Nami, Zeus, Jinbei, and Lilith are actually giving a hand to help them out. And then we cut back to West Village with Zoro's group, and they are pretty much done killing all the Dami Reversi giants. They only got like a couple left. Zoro gets ready to kill them both, and then Chopper comes out of nowhere, smacks both of them in the back of the head, and of course, just like last chapter, they fall back over and flip back to their regular state. And Chopper has no idea how he's doing this, but he's rolling with it. And you can see how happy Chopper actually is, because now he's finally able to contribute to some sort of battle. So the Dami Reversi giants are officially gone, and the only thing left for the giants to take care of now are the fires that Loki caused. And then we cut back to the Owl Library, where Saul and Robin are actually examining it, noticing that damage is actually done to it, but all the books are gone, and so is Biblo. Not too sure what that could mean. Thank God the books are safe, but where the hell did they go? And honestly, where did Biblo go? Like, all of this is just weird. We get a panel of both Frankie and Sanji hitting the Captain Morgan pose on Killingham's body, and this is just nasty work. This is the most pirate-ass pose anyone could be hitting in this situation, and it's really killing me. But the two of them are discussing about how things actually wrapped up really quick once they started getting into action. Frankie mentions how it was only 3 of them, but still, they were able to do a lot of damage to Elbaf, despite how big Elbaf is, which is kind of crazy. But as they're communicating with each other, Killingham is thinking to himself, yo, what happened to the Great One? What happened to Imu? And it's unclear if the Gauze Knights are able to actually sense Imu, or if he's actually looking in the direction where Imu's at and could tell that something isn't right. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but in my assumption, I believe that Killingham could actually sense what's going on with Imu, but ultimately it doesn't really matter, I guess. So we cut to the outskirts of West Village, and Somers is still alive. Obviously, we knew that already. He's putting himself back together, because remember, Luffy split his head in half. Now, I hope this means Somers is coming back into the arc. I really want him to fight Sanji. Like, I need that Sanji versus Somers fight to happen. Okay, now we circle back to Luffy's group. Luffy is asking Loki for some food, and of course he doesn't have any, Raggy doesn't have any, and as Luffy is complaining about being hungry, IMU just suddenly disappears out of the ice block. Now I really have no idea how IMU's powers work. Did IMU just teleport back to Marijua? Why couldn't IMU do that during chapter 1165 after possessing Saturn's body? I hope I'm the only one that's confused, but IMU's abilities get more and more confusing as we get further and further into the story. But anyway, we cut over to Marijua and we actually see some rubble, which looks like some charred material, some charred wood. Something had just been caught on fire and now the fire is gone, but there's definitely some type of damage. So Marijua was definitely attacked. What IMU said in chapter 1149 was not a metaphor. There actually was some type of fire at Marijua. And if I were to guess off the top of my head, either there was a riot that broke out in the Holy Land or Marijua was actually attacked by the revolutionary army. Besides that, I have no idea what could have caused this. Now IMU returns back to the flower room and the chapter ends with him telling the elders the Holy Land will be without Mu for a short while. And my only question is, where is IMU going? Now the obvious guess is back to Elbaf, but what if IMU went somewhere else? Remember, IMU realized that Dami Reversi was not going to work on Luffy and Loki, so he knows that he has to get his hands dirty. And the possibility of seeing IMU actually fight finally after all these years is actually getting me so excited. We still don't know how Chopper is undoing Dami Reversi. I really want to have some answers on that, Oda, like as soon as possible. There's a whole forest god theory going on the community. I personally don't really believe in it yet, but I'm leaning towards that as an explanation. The books and Biblo just being vacant out of the Owl Library is very curious. I wonder what's going on with that as well. And of course, my biggest question for today's chapter is why didn't Dami Reversi work on Loki and Luffy? Because that was the theory going on throughout this week, that IMU was going to try to Dami Reversi at least one of them. But yeah, he tries to go for both of them and it doesn't work. So now IMU has to come up with something new, finally. And unless somebody has food, Luffy's going to be out of the picture for quite a while. But we won't have to wait too long. Next week, there's no break, so we'll see 1179. And I can't wait to see where things go from here. But that's all the time I got left for today. Feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, follow me on Twitter at Kahamsha, that is at KAHAMSHA. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Call me out.